A warm welcome to you all from all around the world. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Vivienne Mackinder, the founder of Hair Designer TV. I hope you've had a chance to check out my ponytail collection because it's a beautiful collection with 50 videos. So if you haven't checked it out, I suggest you do. And for those of you who are members of Hairdressers Create, which is my group, you can go there and you get a special price on the ponytail collection. So do check it out. So today I'm really excited to have my hair hero back, Nicholas French, an incredible hairdresser and an absolute sweetheart. And yes, he's a very dear friend. If you didn't see the last show that we did, it was a journey through time and we explored the 1900s to the 1930s. Today, we're going to go into the 40s and the 50s. And it's just so fascinating to go back in time and look at not only the genius of the innovation, the very first time a hairstyle was created, but also the reason why that hairstyle was created. So today, you're going to hear from the master himself, and we're also going to go and look at the incredible life of Nicholas's father, Freddie French, who was an outstanding hairdresser who pioneered so many different hairstyles. So we're going to show them to you today. We're going to show you the original footage. You're going to hear the inside of the story from the fabulous Nicholas French, and we're going to show you how to recreate those looks, but bring them up to today, because really it's all been done before. It's just giving it a fresh spin. So I hope you've got either a cocktail or a cup of tea in hand and you're ready for a really fun hour as we go through this wonderful journey. So let's first take a look at some incredible footage, which is from Freddie French.
Another beauty parlor, and a man who can create a bit of beauty out of tissue paper and candle grease. The things people do. Try it. It's not as easy as it looks, painting with melted candle wax. This sculptor sometimes starts with figures made from screwed up newspaper, glued and molded. But it isn't altogether art for art's sake. The artist is Freddie French, a well-known hairstylist, and the waxy busts he's making are display models for his salon in London's West End. It's with these models that he experiments in the elaborate hairdos he's always dreaming up. You see these startling figures in the window, and you wonder if the man who made them can create a bit of beauty out of your hair. And that generates the idea.
Wow.
Wow. You know, I feel quite emotional, Nick. That was so amazing. When I was editing it, I was like, oh my gosh, your father was so creative and so avant-garde. And look at you, the son, how creative you are.
Well, I mean, Dad was amazingly before his time, really. He was sort of really off the wall, you know, and that's what I loved about him. And, you know, we actually got on very, very well. And, I always tried to emulate him, but it's originality of what he did was so clever, you know. Even the windows in his salons didn't have photographs and they had sculptures. It was all a different kind of world.
Absolutely. So I'd like to first of all kind of go on a little bit of a journey and explore what your father's life was like, and also talk about the client experience. So I've got some amazing images here that I want to show. And I've got some really strange feedback. I don't know why. Can you hear feedback, Nick?
I can hear you. It's a bit crackly, but it's a bit of feedback.
We're a bit crackly today, and I don't know why.
Yes.
So talk to me, Nicholas, about your father's salon.
Yeah, well, Dad's salons were very, very sort of original and very, very disciplined. You know, at the end of the day, he had 27 salons. At the end of the day, they went out of business eventually in the 70s, but you know, the discipline was there. When I was there in 1965, 66, when I was about 15, 16, and I remember very well that one had to be there at sort of 7:30 in the morning because the hairstylists used to do their assistants' hair, who were all girls. So they were ready for work at 8:30. So they'd style them in sort of beautiful hairstyles. So the clients would like, wow, your hair looks amazing, you know. And, you know, to give people, the clients, ideas of what they could do with their hair. Also, they had to have all their nails inspected and everything at 8:30 because they had to look absolutely immaculate, you know. When the clients came through the door, it's theatre, pure theatre. You know, all the stylists were dressed to the hilt. The assistant's hair was all done. Everybody looked fabulous. It was just a luxurious experience.
And what would have happened if someone wasn't up to standard?
Sorry? Well, I mean, Dad sent people home, but I mean, everybody had to be trained in the West End of London in my dad's salons before they went out to the cities like Bournemouth and Plymouth and Manchester. And, you know, East Anglia had all these other salons. And he even had salons on ships, which were pretty amazing. He had 6 ships going to South Africa. Unfortunately, as a junior stylist, I went on a small trip for a week on one of these ships, and I was just sick all the time because of the smell of perm lotion and everything. And I never had the opportunity of going around the world in these, you know, which was rather sad because they went to South Africa. And in fact, my dad had a salon in the Mount Nelson Hotel, Cape Town. And Richard Dalton, who did Lady Di's hair the last 12 years of her life every day, he worked with me at my mum's salon, and he was always moaning about the weather. And my dad actually sent him to South Africa, and he told me the story the other month. He absolutely loved it. It was a wonderful place, you know.
So how many salons did your father have in total?
Well, at the height, it was 27 salons.
27 salons. And what year was that?
I would say that was the end of the 50s, 58, 59. That's when he really was hot. You know, his breakthrough era was 1953, really, when his sort of casual hairdressing was in. You know, it was a hairstyle called the It Girl, and that really made him famous. And he was a genius at publicity, Vivienne. He used a guy called Richard Addy, who eventually became Vidal Sassoon's publicist, but Addy actually gave my dad so much publicity, you know, through newsreel films that you saw that went onto the cinema. And you have to understand there was 3,000 people in the cinema on Friday night. So they saw, you know, there was very little television in England in the 50s. So Dad had this connection. He did all these quirky films, you know. So when one saw, you know, the newsreel, as it was, oh, there's a war in the Suez Canal, and there's a fashion show in London, you know, Freddie French, King of the Waves, etc. So he really pushed his, you know, promotional ability through that had never been seen before. So, you know, all these salons filled up with thousands of people. So there was a period of sort of 10 years where he was incredibly successful.
Wow. So guys, what do you think about this? Isn't it amazing when you see this originality? And doesn't it just blow your mind that Nicholas and his father, I mean, talk about the inspiration of both of them, the avant-garde and the creativity is absolutely amazing. So Nicholas, talk to me about, he developed a product line.
Yeah, well, this photograph says it all. It's not a photograph of drawings, because my dad's criteria was to create a mood. So he didn't want to show photographs. You know, he said, well, photographs, you've done the hairstyle. I want to create something really fresh and new for you. So I've just got drawings, which is a sort of, you know, attendances, as they used to call them, of how fashion floated through the world. You know, recently I got commissioned by Emilia Pucci to do their windows and create hairstyles. And they said, because they're very young people there, obviously, oh, Nicholas, darling, can you send me tear sheets? I said, no. I do drawings because we haven't created it yet. It's never been seen before. So what Dad did with product lines especially, he wanted to create his own line of professional products. And he had a partner from Austria, who's a brilliant chemist, and they had a huge success. In fact, they invented the little bottles in hotels eventually that we wash our hair with in the hotels around the world. And that was their sort of invention. But Dad, unfortunately, never made the money he should have made out of it all.
So your father obviously built an empire. Did he know how to relax?
This is a great picture of Mum and Dad, because it really evokes. My dad came from an incredibly poor background. He never really wrote properly. He could only sign his name. He went to elocution classes to have his voice rather like a posh, old-fashioned voice like mine, which was very popular in the day because rich women wouldn't let you touch their hair unless you had a posh, old-fashioned voice like mine. And Vidal actually went to the same elocutionist at the end of the day because my dad suggested you should go to this woman. And like, for instance, the car behind them is the same as the Beatles had, the Austin Princess limousine. And I said to my dad as a tiny boy, when are we going to get a car, Dad? He said, oh, I don't drive. So when we can afford a chauffeur, we'll get a car. And so when we had this chauffeur, it was actually the doorman at the main salon as well. His name was George, he was fabulous. And we used to go for amazing holidays in this beautiful car. And we go all over Europe. He had a phone in the back and everything, the first phone ever I think, in the car. And we used to go all over Europe and everything, exploring places. It's just amazing, to think of those days. They were extraordinary and unique, and you'll never see them again,
No, and to think that he was a pioneer in so many areas. So talk to me about this picture.
Oh, that's lovely. That in fact, I used that for the opening of one of my salons in England many, many years ago because I thought it was so beautiful. This was actually a model that he used quite a lot. And this is very indicative of 1949 when he wanted very tight head shapes and then very individual waves. And he did everything very, very freehand, which was very rare in those days. Everything was really set. And Dad was very much the sort of person who wanted to unset hair, to give it sort of casual essence. But the nape of the neck was very, very important because of exit dresses, backless dresses. Exit dresses were amazing. And so women really wanted to be noticed when they left the room, apart from when they entered. So Dad really focused on this. In fact, one of his Vogue covers in 1951. And this was a great story because this is really how my connection with my dad really got me into hairdressing, because my two elder brothers didn't want to do it. So I thought, oh, I can make a fortune out of the 27 salons, which never happened. But I went into hairdressing very, very sort of nervously. And when I was 10, my dad used to take me to antique stores on Sundays. We went to one, and there was this glass bubble with a stuffed parrot inside. Polly died May the 8th, 1888. I never forget it. And I was in Chelsea, and I had to carry the dome with the parrot very carefully down the road, holding it in my hands. And my dad said, don't drop it, Nick, don't drop it. It's very, very important. And I thought, why is this dead parrot so damn important? And I got home, and my dad he put me to bed that night and said, right, Wednesday, you will come to the studio with me for something very special. You're not going to school. I went to the studio, and I walked in, and they drilled a hole in the top of the glass so it didn't get too steamy. And this is what I saw. I don't know where the parrot went, but he got the beautiful model in. And as you can see, it's sort of exquisite,
Absolutely.
And that's what made me start to love hairdressing, because I thought it was just, pretty girls doing hair in my dad's salons, which I've been to in my youth, I thought that was it. And, that was all there was to it. When I saw the creativity and having that incredible idea of seeing a dead parrot in a piece of glass and then doing that photograph, to me, that was it. That was the beginning of my journey,
Well, let's take our friends on a trip down memory lane. And as I mentioned before, we are going to demonstrate some great techniques for you. And let's look at the 40s and the 50s.
The 1940s fashions were creations born of necessity and social change. The Second World War brought the fashionable jet-set lifestyle to an abrupt halt. 1939 set the image that would stay throughout the war years: deprivation and restriction, a de-emphasis on fashion, and vanity taking second place to necessity. The war years prompted women to be resourceful. Magazines told women to convert blankets into coats. For the first time, hats were unattainable, and women grew their long hair and wore turbans and embroidered snoods to keep it tidy. Hair became a sexual point during this time. The American lifestyle had not been so harshly affected by the war. It was still the land of plenty. The fashion industry was at a standstill throughout Europe, so it was inevitable that everyone looked to America. Hollywood created an escape from the harsh reality of war through the world of fantasy, influencing fashion. Celebrities became the pin-up girls for the men away at war. After the great loss of life during World War II, the focus was to rebuild family life. This era would become known as the baby boomers. After the depression of the war, there was a yearning to return to glamour. Perfect timing for Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, who epitomized the big, blonde, busty look. The women of the 50s continued developing a full-figure look. Full bust, considered vulgar in the 20s and 30s, became desirable. The new motto was, the bigger, the better. The 50s gave birth to the teenager. For the first time, fashion was available for the youth. The music industry caught on quickly, recognizing the enormous potential of teenagers as a market. Elvis Presley, jitterbugging, and jukeboxes rocked the fashionable establishments, inspiring the fashion world. Hairstyles became very elaborate affairs. Sprays and rollers were used to create fantastic back-combed beehives. The entire fashion image was a very artificial look.
Isn't that cool? So how many of you just love the whole retro aspect? And I know we're getting some strange feedback, so I'm going to try something, my friends, to see if I can improve the feedback. 1 second.
Okay.
Let's see. I may have to, because we're getting echoing, and we don't want echoing. How many of you can hear me echo?
Yeah, it's still a bit echoey. I don't know why. I had that problem the other day.
Okay, is that? We're back. How's my sound?
It sounds a bit better, yeah.
Oh, we are. I think we're successful. I hope so. Well, let's carry on because we've got some great things to talk about. So we'll talk about. No, I'm still hearing an echo, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Let me see what else I can do.
Okay, the other day. I was the one at fault.
Am I still echoing? Yes, yeah. I am. You know what I'm going to do, my dear friends, is I'm going to shut down and we're going to come back in about 3 minutes.
That's it.
Improve the quality of this, because there's no point in doing a show if you can't hear what we have to say, and we've got some great things to share with you. So hold on and we will be back.